Okay. And okay, so I am just going to say it because the cards did not waste any time. Someone is losing their grip right now, as in, not eventually, not after you do something, not once things align the way they are supposed to. Right now, something that has had hold of your life, of your energy, your certainty, your ability to move in the direction you actually want to move, is actively losing the thing it needed to keep holding on. And the almost funny part, they do not know it yet. I want to tell you exactly what is happening to them right now. Because by the end of this reading, you are going to understand something specific. Not just about the eclipse, not just about August 12th, but about what is occurring in real time in the life of the person or the situation that has had that grip. And once I tell you, you are not going to be able to look at the last few months the same way. Stay with me. Because this reading goes somewhere different from what you are expecting. Okay, so these cards are almost rude about it. Like they are not even being subtle. What they are showing me landed the moment they came out. And I have been sitting with it for a second because I want to make sure I describe it accurately. What I am seeing is someone who built something, a structure, an arrangement with you at the center of it that required your uncertainty to keep functioning, required your doubt, required the version of you that second-guessed what you knew and adjusted yourself around what they needed and stayed small enough that the whole thing made sense. And they built it carefully. They were not careless about it. This was not accidental. They watched you. They learned what you needed: approval, stability, a sense that things were okay, and they became the gatekeeper of those things. They offered it when you complied, and they withdrew it when you pushed back. And over time, the message landed. Without them ever saying it directly, without you ever being able to point to a single moment and say, there, that is where it happened. The message just arrived, settled, became the background assumption of how things worked. And the background assumption was, you need me more than I need you. The eclipse is about to correct that record. Here is what August 12th actually is. And I want to give you the simple version because it makes everything else in this reading make immediate sense. On August 12th, the moon passes directly in front of the sun. Daylight disappears, not gradually, not like clouds rolling in. One moment, the sun is there, and then it is not. And here's the thing about total eclipses that most people do not understand until they have stood under one. The darkness does not feel like night. Night is familiar. You know what to do with night. This feels different. This feels like something that was not supposed to happen. Like the world briefly forgot a rule it has always followed. And in that wrongness, in that interruption of something that felt permanent, something in you recalibrates. Because you suddenly understand in your body, and not just your mind, that even the most reliable things can be interrupted. That is what this eclipse does to the grip. The person who has had hold of your life built their arrangement on the assumption that certain things were permanent, that your doubt was permanent, that their position as the one you oriented yourself around was permanent, that the version of you who needed what they were offering was the version that would always show up. The eclipse interrupts that assumption, not with a confrontation, not with a dramatic reveal. It simply removes the conditions that made the arrangement feel stable. And in the interruption, in that wrongness that a total eclipse creates, the grip has nothing to hold on to. Because grips require a surface. And you are about to become a different surface entirely. And now, I said there is something happening to them right now. in real time, and I told you I would get there. Here it is. They are recalibrating, and not comfortably. What I am getting for this person, and I want to be specific because the cards are being specific, is the energy of someone who has started to notice that something is not working the way it used to. Not a big moment, not a confrontation, a series of small moments that do not add up to the arrangement they expected. You are not responding the way you used to respond. Not dramatically differently, subtly differently. The version of you that absorbed and adjusted and reorganized yourself around what they needed. That version has been showing up less. And they have noticed. They have not named it. They have not said anything, but they have noticed. And what the noticing has produced is not confidence. It is something closer to recalculation. They are going back over recent interactions, trying to find where the shift happened, trying to identify the moment the arrangement started feeling less stable. And they cannot find it because it was not a moment. It was a slow, quiet accumulation of you being slightly more yourself and slightly less available to be managed. And that accumulation has no single point they can address or argue with or redirect. The grip is not failing because you pulled away dramatically. It is failing because the surface it was holding onto has been gradually, quietly, almost imperceptibly changing. And August 12th is when that change becomes undeniable. And there is something coming through specifically right now, something that has been sitting at the edge of this reading since the cards landed, and I want to say it before I lose it. I am getting an initial, M or the letter R. Someone in this situation, either the person themselves or someone close to this who knows more than they have said. If that lands, you know exactly who I mean. And a number. 3. 3 months or the third. Something around that number is significant to the timing of when this started shifting. When you started being slightly less available without fully realizing you were doing it. 3 months ago, something changed in you. Small, quiet, but it was the beginning of this. Now I want to tell you what the eclipse does to someone whose arrangement depends on another person's uncertainty. Because this is the part that is almost funny to me. Not in a cruel way, just in the audacity of this kind of way. They built something that required a specific set of conditions to survive. Your doubt, your need, your willingness to stay in the version of yourself that made sense inside their arrangement. And they were not wrong that those conditions existed. They were not wrong that for a long time, that was the version of you who showed up. What they got wrong was assuming those conditions were permanent. What they got wrong was mistaking your patience for your limit. Because here is what the eclipse reveals to someone in that position. When the familiar light disappears, when the conditions that made the arrangement feel stable are suddenly interrupted, what they are left with is the arrangement itself, without the camouflage of your uncertainty making it look reasonable, without your doubt making their certainty seem necessary. And the arrangement in that light is not what they thought it was. It is smaller, more fragile, more dependent on your participation than they realized, and more visible to everyone around them than they were prepared for. The people around them, the mutual connections, the ones who have been watching from the outside, they are starting to see it too. Not because anything dramatic happened, because something in the way this person carries themselves, when you are not adjusting yourself around them, is beginning to show. And what it is showing is not what they have been presenting. And this is what the cards were showing from the start. Not your doubt, not your struggle, not the weight of what the last however many months have cost you. What they showed me immediately, before I said a single word, is that you are already on the other side of this. Not in terms of the situation being fully resolved, in terms of where you actually are internally, versus where they believe you to be. They are still operating on the assumption that you are in the same place you were 6 months ago, still running their calculations on a version of you that has already changed. You are not that person anymore. And August 12th is when that gap between who they think you are and who you actually are becomes impossible to bridge. That is the grip losing its hold. Not through force, through the simple fact of you having moved and them not having updated their map. Here is what I want to tell you about where you are right now. Because I think sometimes readings like this get so focused on the other person, on the karma, on the exposure, on what they are about to face, that they skip over the part that actually matters. What has the last few months built in you? I will tell you what the cards are showing me. Something that does not exist in people who had it easier. A specific kind of clarity that only comes from having moved through sustained uncertainty without losing the thread of what you actually knew. You never fully stopped knowing. You questioned it. You doubted it. You told yourself maybe you were wrong, maybe you were too sensitive, maybe the version of reality they were offering was more accurate than your own perception. But you never fully let go of what you knew. And that, the holding on to your own perception through conditions specifically designed to make you release it, that is not a small thing. That is the thing the last few months were building. And what it has produced in you is a version of yourself that is significantly harder to manage than the one they started with. The grip is losing its hold, not just because of the eclipse, because of who you became while you were in it. And what is coming for you now. The doors that are about to open. The things that have been waiting on the other side of this arrangement, losing its power. Those things are not arriving because you survived. They are arriving because of what surviving built. You are going to be seen differently after August 12th by people who matter. Not because of anything you announce, because the version of you that has been developing quietly in the background is about to have no more reason to stay in the background. And the person who built their confidence on the version of you that needed them, they are going to watch that happen. That is the part that gets me. Every time I look at these cards, they are going to watch it from wherever they are, and they are not going to have a single thing to say about it that lands, because you did not fight them. You did not expose them. You did not make a scene or recruit people or give them anything they could point to. You just became someone the arrangement could no longer contain. And there is no argument for that. There is no narrative that addresses it. There is no version of the story they can run that explains why you outgrew something they built specifically to keep you in place. They can watch. That is all they get. I want to say one more thing before we close, and it is about the final hours leading into August 12th. Because Lionsgate on August 8th opened the portal. And the days between then and the eclipse are when it decides what comes through with you. If you have been feeling it already, things losing their pull, situations you would previously have chased that you find yourself less interested in following up, conversations that would have consumed your energy just not seeming worth it, that is not apathy. That is the eclipse doing its work before it officially arrives. Pay attention today to what continues to lose its pull. Not in a forced way, not as a practice or an exercise. Just notice what you find yourself less interested in pursuing. What dynamics or conversations that would previously have consumed your energy just do not seem worth the energy anymore. That loss of pull is the grip starting to release in these final hours as the conditions that made it possible become less and less available to it. And when August 12th comes tomorrow, when the moon covers the sun and the familiar light disappears for those few minutes, what you will feel is not loss. What you will feel is the specific lightness of something that has been on you for a very long time finally being lifted. Write down what surfaces today, just one line. Tomorrow, after the eclipse, look at what you wrote. The pattern will be clear. If what I have described today feels specific to something real in your life, if any of this is landing with the particular accuracy that means it is yours, my personal readings are open right now. The link is in the description. In a session, I look at your natal chart and I can show you exactly where this eclipse is landing in your specific placements, whether August 12th is a closing, a beginning, or both for you personally, and what comes next in your specific timeline. Come find me there and drop in the comments. Tell me this is yours. Tell me what arrangement you have outgrown that the eclipse is about to make impossible to maintain. I will see you in the next one.